Hey guys, this is Brett Burns with The Prepared Man. Wanted to show you a little bit today while we're doing a day trip. We're going to start a fire that's semi-primitive, take a look at my day pack, and talk a little bit about just outdoor mentality and some kit mentality, and overlook a few tools that I've got with me today. So stick with me. First we're going to lay everything out here on this old log, and we'll get started in just a minute. Okay guys, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at just my general pack. This pack is not one of those fancy backpacker, hike-in, ultra lightweight packs. This pack is bomb-proof. It's tough. It's rugged. You'll notice it's made out of natural materials. It's not made out of nylon. I do have a lot of modern tools inside, but we're going to take a look at just some of the tough, rugged stuff that I have. So let's get centered out here. We're going to lay everything out, and I'll talk about it in just a second. Okay guys, these are the tools that I have with me today, along with my sheath knife. It's just some basic tools to really focus on. I actually brought out just for this video, and then some tools that I keep with me all the time. Now, I'm not pulling an overnight here, but I could push this into an overnight with moderate temperatures with the simple addition of my cover element. So if you look on the left, I have my USGI 1-quart canteen and cup. I've got the one with the butterfly handles, but they are the extended butterfly handles. I use it on a rare occasion just because I have much better solutions, but that's what I have there today. We got a nice piece of flint, an old striker that I got off Brad McCaffrey. Thanks, Brad. I also have a flint file striker that I got off of Grant Rude Dog, and cotton bandana underneath. Got a backup knife that was actually designed by Clinton Armstrong and built in the Jeff White Bladesmith shop. But that's a nice little knife, and we're going to take a look at it here in a little bit. I got my big tinder bag that's got a lot of natural tinders in it, as well as my fire kit. And then I've got my mest that come from Bushcraft Outfitters and Bushcraft USA Outfitters. It's the mest is like a 5x7 seal nylon tarp. I'll pop it up in a pop-up if that's wrong, but I use it ever so often just as day cover. In addition, I also have this bad boy. That is my Jeff White Bush 1. It's an interesting knife for what it is. It's a really tough knife. I actually sprung and bought a couple of things to go with it, which we'll talk about a little bit later. I'm also carrying a fire steel, and of course for my firearm solution I have the North American Arms mini revolver and 22 long rifle. In addition, I do have my little jackknife, so to speak, my little folder that I carry every day. My Swiss Army knife, Victorinox Swiss Army knife Farmer. I carry that for the addition of the saw. One of the best knives for a cutting tool for processing wood is a good saw. So I carry my saw, and then of course my little tribute to the Pathfinder School, my Surefire there, my Sure Flame. I've got that. Don't have to worry about striking flint if I don't want to. And other than that, I just have a few things that I carry with me every day, like my car keys, and you can see that jumbled mess. I got all kinds of stuff going on there, so I'm carrying that. But other than that, and a few bits of cordage tied, that's it, folks. So let's get out in the woods, and we'll talk a little bit about what's going on. Now guys, what I've done is I've just picked a place to stop. I was looking for some key features, but you know what, I haven't searched this area, even though this is one of my standard areas that I do my bushcrafting in, or I do my overnights. And we're just going to try to find some stuff to start fires with natural timber. Now this is southeastern Kentucky. As you can tell, this is a very big area. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of go out into this area and take just a couple of minutes to kind of collect some tinders. So I'm going to put it on fast forward. I'll let it go a little bit faster. I'll show you what I'm doing, and we'll be back with our collection in just a minute. Okay guys, I don't know how long that took, and I will put it up in the comments on the video, but I found a couple of things here. I'm going to lay them out on the floor. As you can see, I think I've got enough to start my fire right here. Now, as you can see, I found some punk wood here, just some dry wood. It is extremely dry. It's off a dead stump. As you can see, it just crumbles, and I'm thinking that that'll be a good way to start my ember from that point. Next thing I have is this poplar bark. Now this bark's tough. You can actually make cordage from this, but today we're going to use this to start our fire. So we're just going to make our bird's nest here, and all we got to do is just kind of twist it a couple times, then really break it up. What I'm going to show you, and something I haven't seen in a lot of other videos, is just how fibrous that gets right where I broke it up. So let me get it going here. Now check that out. Look at that. It's just completely fibrous. I'm going to process it down a little bit more, and that's just by brushing it together, and that'll make my bird's nest that will catch my ember. Now there's a possibility that that would actually catch a ferro rod strike. Let's try it real quick just for giggles, just to see what happens. Yeah, that's what I figured. It may be a little bit too loose still, but I'm going to process it on down. The last thing I want to show you before I pause the video and actually do a little bit more work is I found this dead tulip poplar limb. It's still got the bark intact, so if you were looking for some bark, this bark comes off really easy. But we're going to process it down and make some feather sticks for our fledgling fire. So I'm going to put it on pause real quick. I'm going to work it up. I'll be back in just a minute. Okay guys, this is what I come up with. I'm going to work on my bird's nest a little bit more. I've got this really fine poplar fibrous bark. Got a couple of feather sticks. And I got this good dry punkwood base. So if the ground was even wet, I could lay this out and get a really good start for my fire. So let's get it all together. I'll explain to you one more time what I've got, and then we'll try to get this fire going. Hang with me. Alrighty fellas, I got my fire all prepped here. I got just enough to start a small fire. I'm not trying to start a roaring fire. If I was going to start a fire for overnight, I'd go ahead and I'll have all my prep. I'd have my knee-high pile of sticks that are finger width all the way up to wrist width, and then I'd have my knee-high pile of bigger wood. Then I would have a nice big heavy fire all night. But this is just enough to get a good fire started, and then I can extend it using what's left of my poplar limb that I collected just by breaking it up. And no, I'm not going to break these down with my knife. If I can't break it with my knee, I got no business fiddling with it without an axe. So I've got some wood here that I could extend my fire with. There's still quite a bit of that left, so I could put it all together and I could get a fire going in just a few minutes. So let's zoom out a little bit. We'll talk about what we got, and then we'll try to get a fire going. Okay guys, I've zoomed out just a little bit. What I've got here is I've got my initial bird nest where my coal will go, and I'm going to try to put it right in the center there. I got a few feather sticks that I made out of that poplar. I hand split some poplar down. I've got my punkwood for a base. Of course, I've got my bigger tinder that we won't be using today. And got it all ready to go. Now, without a doubt, with a little patience, I can take this ferro rod and start that fire. But I don't feel like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my bag and get my fire kit out and show you what goodies I've got here. Now what I've got is I've got a couple of strikers. I got a good piece of flint. I know that I can make sparks, and I know I can direct my sparks. The problem is there's no way a spark's going to start that. So what I've done is some fire prep at my last fire that I can then use to affect this fire. So I'm going to go ahead and get in my tinder bag, and I'm going to show you my little bit of prep that I've done. Now any of you guys that know me know that I like tried and true methods. This is a good Altoids tin. This one's seen the fire a couple times. And inside I have some punkwood that I collected and I charred. I got a really nice little char tin going here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move right over here right out of camera, and I'm going to start an ember. Alright guys, I hope you can see that okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to cast a spark into my char tin just to start an ember. I'm going to try a couple methods. This is not an instant thing like a cigarette lighter, but it does work. So if I'm just patient, I can get this to work. Okay, let's reset this. Shard. Okay. So all I gotta do is take this piece of flint or this piece of flint. We'll use my bigger one. Hit my striker a couple times. Hopefully we can cast an ember right in here. There we go. Got our ember going. We can use that to catch a bigger one. Let's see. There we go. I'm just going to transfer this into my bird's nest and close him up real good. Adjust my camera here while that's smoking. A little time. Let's make sure I got everything. Yeah, buddy. There we go. So we got our fire now, and we can scrape it all together. That was poor prep. Got our fire going. Here comes our feather sticks. Feather sticking it. And I'm going to immediately upgrade this fire to bigger wood, just because this is just so dry. And be able to get a fire. Don't need this anymore. So to put out my leftover char material, I'm just going to close him up. Boy, that's hot. And see where it goes from there. Got a good fire going. Now what I'm going to do with this fire today, since I use my char tin and I still have my punk wood, I'm going to char me some more punk wood. Didn't take much to get it going. We've got enough of a fire here. I want to load this up. I'll move that to where you can see it, hopefully. Can you see that okay? I'm going to move this up. Just going to keep adding sticks to my fire. That's what I'm talking about with hand splitting some wood down. And get enough fuel for my fire to keep it going while I load up this bad boy with punk wood just enough to fill back up what I lost. I'm going to close it up as tight as I can. And this is something that I do at the campsite. I just lay them on there and let that get to cooking up. Now, I do have a lot more in here already done, but I figured we'd throw some on just to show you guys. I'm going to throw my strikers back in. Thank you, Brad McCaffrey, for that striker. Didn't bring out my tobacco tin today, but I do appreciate it. I'm just going to maintain this fire long enough to get that going and get me a nice sustainable flame. If you hear something splitting in the background, it is me just hand splitting some wood off of that dead poplar limb that I found. This is a good one stick fire. Got everything going, got the bark off of the limb, busted the limb up, hand split it down, and I'm actually going to char me some natural material. Now you can do this with other natural materials like cotton, canvas, linen, things like that, but I really honestly find that a good dead punkwood, which is plentiful in a healthy forest, there should be some around, a good dead punkwood or extremely dried wood, whatever you want to call it, but a good dead fat pulp will get you where you want to be. Now, in a more grassland environment, I'm going to look for something that's pulpy, like a shoemake or a sumac, depending on what part of the country you're from, or something like that that has a pulpy core. Horseweeds, cattails, things of that nature that would have a pulp in it. But this punkwood, I'm just loving it. I made some the other night. I use it pretty heavy. Like I said, I'm not building a huge fire. This is just enough to affect a fire later today. Now, I am not saying that this is a replacement for any of the other types of fire prep that you do, but it's just nice to know that you don't have to run out to REI or Campmore or to the Pathfinder store or somewhere to buy fire starters when they're literally everywhere in your own backyard. And it took me a couple of minutes tops to find those, so they are out there. I'm going to let this burn down. This wood's incredibly dry, so it's going to burn very, very fast. I'm going to let this burn down, and then we'll come back and see what charred wood we have left, our charred punk wood. Now what I've done is I let my fire burn a while, and as you can see, I've got things here that I could use. Like, this is charred. If I can get that ember to go out, this will take flint and steel, but it is a little hot. So this is my Altoids tin. It's still fairly warm, but I can pick it up. Let's go ahead and crack it open and see what's going on. Ah, look at that. Nice charred punkwood. Now, this is ready to take another flint. I've replaced what I used out of my kit. My kit is self-sustaining to start another fire, and I'm ready for the next stop. I'm ready for the next night. I'm ready for the next wherever I'm going. So this will actually get packed back up. I'll let it cool completely so I know that it's out. If it's later in the evening and it's starting to get dark, I can blow in it and make sure there's no embers, just nice and steady. There's no actual heat emitting from it. So I'm going to let it go ahead and cool and kind of do its thing. I like that it's already small and broken up. I may break it up a little bit more before I use it, but right now I'm going to leave that alone. Let it cool down, make sure that it's out. Back into my tinder bag it goes, and we're on down the trail. Alright guys, that's about how simple it is. We took a good impromptu walk, gathered some tulip poplar bark, processed that down for our bird's nest, used some punk wood just to replenish our fire kit and also for a nice dry base. Used some tulip poplar that we processed down into feather sticks as well as some small kindling, and we really affected a fire from natural tinder using just a little bit of charred wood in an Altoids tin and flint and steel. I'm Brett with The Prepared Man. Thanks, guys.